Na 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 na. Na, 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 na,
Batman.
na. All right. Hey, Graeme, how you doing?
I'm good. I would just like to point
Are
out
you
that
ready?
was the worst
It
imitation of the
was.
Batman
It
theme
was.
I've
You're
ever
right.
heard.
You're right.
That was unacceptable, sir.
Well, I think I need a moment for my voice to warm up or something. I haven't been on 17 video conferences today. I've had the day off from work.
Not me.
So I've just been like just chilling, getting ready for this awesome show today.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that because you may not have been on a lot today, but I know you're on a lot of them every day, and we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
address that with our guest. And we have a wonderful guest we're going to bring on today, and we'll talk about why that's relevant in just a couple of minutes here. But it's Friday, buddy. It's week's end, and here we are, show number 41, and we're going to dive into Batman. I really like your T-shirt. You're looking very,
Well,
very buff these
I need
days.
to
You've
pan
been working
down.
out.
I know
You've been
I
working
need to
out. Look at that.
talk about
That's
this with Kia,
impressive.
but I think
That's
the work is paying
I
off.
can't
Folks.
unsee that.
All right, let's bring on Kia. Let's jump right in. What do you think?
Let's do it. Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go. Let's go. Kick me off.
I'm gonna reorganize here. I'm gonna put Kia in between us. Hey Kia,
That's
welcome
right.
to the show.
Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Doing all right.
We're very good. Now, folks, you may notice that Kia is not on camera. And you want to know what? That's okay. Because Kia is one of us. She's on calls and meetings every day. And today, Kia's taking a camera break. And I think if there's a key lesson, if I could get that 90s sitcom moral music to play right now, the moral of today's story is if you don't want to be on camera, that's okay. So let's dig into it. Hello, Kia.
Hello. I really appreciate that. I literally came from a meeting over here to end my weekday because, yeah, it's been a crazy day today and I've had many, many meetings and I'm tired of looking at my reflection today. So
I know. I was just thinking about that. It's kind of like it's the end of a work week. I log probably 80% of my time is probably on video cameras during the week, just like a lot of us that are working from home. So the last thing you want to do is probably get back on camera. But thank you for making time for us.
No problem whatsoever. I'm glad to have the nice little break to talk about one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I hope this is fun because you and I have known each other for many years, going back to like kind of when social media came on the scene.
I think we've known each other 10 years.
Yeah, I wanted to say there's like, maybe longer because we used to have these crazy tweet ups. We used to do these film events. You've actually been a film reviewer for a number of years.
Yes, I am.
And that is how we met each other. So why don't you just tell us more about yourself in general?
Okay, so for everybody who doesn't know who I am, I'm Kia. I am local to these guys. I am a member of the North Carolina Film Critics Association, have been for the last 8 years, maybe longer. I don't really keep track. And so most people who do know me because I review films for a living. I also have another job, which has nothing to do with films. It is still in the entertainment industry. It's just in live entertainment. And I have a strong, long-lasting, since childhood, fascination with Batman. And so that was why I was brought on here today, because I think that's kind of one of the things that Ryan first knew about me.
Yeah. Well, I noticed, I want to I don't know if it was the very first time I saw you, but it probably was, because every event I feel like you're wearing a Batman shirt of some kind.
All the time.
All the time. So that is amazing stuff. One of the last tweet ups that we did before they kind of died out, before that stopped being a thing, was I want to ask if you attended. We did one that for the premiere of
right there, Ryan.
Nolan movie.
Get the brain
Nolan
going.
movie. What's that?
I said, you okay there, Ryan? Get the brain going. You'll get the answer. You'll get it. You'll get it.
I know which one I was not there because I had saw it early.
Oh, The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
Okay. But that was one of the last ones we did.
Yes, that was one of the last ones we did. Because there's been a couple in, like, when you used to do the second screener stuff, and there were things that we used to do with that. And of course, with COVID and everything, films have become virtual. I watched my entire award season from my living room this year, which has never happened before. Film companies have decided a new way. Instead of the massive amounts of DVDs that they usually sell in as promo packages, I got the highest number of streaming links this year. I would finish my work day at my other job and then go into my living room and watch 2 or 3 movies to catch up so I can vote. And so it's been an interesting experience because one, it does cut down on commute because when we do live screenings, you never know where you're going to go. And they're set at a time. It was nice to just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to watch this movie. I'm going to write my critique or decide if I'm going to vote for it. And then I'm going to go back to my other job. It was a lot more flexible. Hopefully they'll keep doing it that way because to be perfectly honest, it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
It sounds much better.
I can imagine. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with,
well, why don't we kind of do it chronologically, right? Yeah, like
Okay.
that's what I was thinking. Why don't we start with what was our early exposure to Batman? And then we can kind of take it 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s, 20s, right? And kind of just talk through it that way. Does that sound cool?
That works.
Yeah. So what's your earliest memory, Kia? Where did it all begin for you?
So a lot of people think that my fascination began with Batman the Animated Series, but actually it began with a babysitter. I had a babysitter when I was roughly 9 or 10 who had a brother who had this massive comic book collection. And he had the ones that were in sleeves and I wasn't allowed to read. And he was a big Spider-Man person, a big Marvel comic book person. But because, sometimes you get comics, you get other ones that you may or may not like. He didn't care for his DC comics. So the only ones he would let me read were those.
Interesting.
Nice.
And so because they weren't his protective sleeve comics.
Oh yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I was allowed to read them.
I can understand that. Nobody's allowed to touch this one. This is my Transformers #1. No one gets to touch that.
Well, I'm in the same mode where I started out comics young and I have a similar story to you. I think I didn't start out with Batman. With reading Batman, but I quickly got into it. So similar story. And I had a neighbor who I think this is the story there. You remember when Dark Knight came out and it was very hard to get a hold of those books, the graphic novels for Dark Knight. He had one issue of it. It was like water damaged and the front cover was torn and he just gave it to me. And I didn't know what it was. That might have been my first Batman book. And it was just, it was the book where Superman's up in the sky and gets hit by the nuclear bomb and all this. And I had no idea what it was. I didn't know the book before that or after that, but that's when I got really intrigued and jumped into it and really just started, looking at the graphic novel type of stuff.
Yeah. So that's really cool. Somewhat similar. So Super Friends, right? The Hall of Justice. Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice, I was watching the cartoons. But when I went to summer camp as a kid, which I started when I was 7 years old, they would play the 1960s Batman movie for us, which was goofy with the shark repellent and, the submarine that looked like I remember the submarine that instead of propeller had like dolphin fins or something. But yeah, so there you go. And then a good friend of mine, Gavin, was a comic book collector and he had me reading comics pretty early, definitely Frank Miller, Dark Knight Returns, all of those when I was pretty young. I think those were closer to the teenagerish stuff. But then, of course, it just exploded in '89 when the Keaton movie came out. And I had never seen anything like that. I was familiar with Tim Burton's work, but dude, that movie to me is one of the, not only is an origin of me really being a fan of Batman, but it was like one of the first massive, overwhelmingly huge blockbusters that I remember. And I know there were other Superman and so on, but that thing was crazy. So, it goes really far back, definitely to when I was 7 or 8 years old.
Yep. And I will say, are you a Keaton? So I put out a poll earlier to ask sort of what's your favorite, old school ish Batman and we'll talk about the new ones that are coming up and some of the new projects. But so let's talk about this, Kia, between Keaton, let's say Keaton, West, Bale, those guys is Keaton and that the 89, is that sweet spot for you?
My favorite Batman or just my sweet spot? Because my favorite Batman will forever be Adam West.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I absolutely have always ranked, and I actually told this when I went to Comic-Con and I met Kevin Conroy, and I said,
Oh,
and
Oh yeah.
he signed something for me, and I said, "You're my
Oh.
second favorite Batman." And he says, "Who's
nice.
the first?" I said, "Adam West, sir." He says, "Okay, that's
Oh, yeah.
acceptable."
Oh,
He
that's
says,
great. What a great story.
he says, "I thought you were going to say Christian Bale." I was like, "He's not even that high."
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
Well,
still believe that he
so
doesn't
Kevin
do it.
Conroy was the fourth person in my poll. So that was my pick as well. I want to show you guys. I have both of you. I have this original '89
Dude, that is so
Batmobile.
cool.
I have a little collection of these, but this is like not one that, you know, this is from that year. I remember going to the theater for that one. This is back when what is this, Ertl? That's what I called it when I was a
Ertl.
kid.
Yeah, Ertl.
This is an Ertl. It says 1989 on the bottom, and it's not all nicked up. And you know why? I feel like I bought two of them. It was the first time I bought two of something and played with one and kept one.
So when I think about my favorite Batman, and Ryan, do me a favor, just let's move on from that GIF because it was giving me crazy eyes. I struggle with this question because in many ways, all of the major Batmans, I really like them all. Like I am hard pressed to think of one I don't really like. And I mean, maybe George Clooney, maybe Val Kilmer or whatever. But when I think about the ones that you're talking about, to me, it's hard to sort of say I have a favorite because I view them all so differently. Adam West was like, I don't compare him to Michael Keaton. I don't compare him to Christian Bale. I don't compare him to, I'm sorry, is it Kevin Conroy? Did I say that right? That's the animated series, right?
Yep.
Which I was addicted to in college. In fact, we would all gather at Bridgewater State University. I'm actually up in Massachusetts. And we would all gather in the dorm rooms. And there was like 30 of us who would all get together and watch that show, mainly because we were a bunch of dorks that had nothing better to do, but that's fine. But so I look at them all very differently. My sister is a Batman fanatic. She has like Batman tattoos all over the place. Says Batman, everything, Batman. And she'll tell you it's Keaton. But I don't know. So I've always struggled with that question. It's like when somebody says, what do you prefer, Star Wars or Star Trek? It's like, whoa. These are very different things. It's not a preference.
Yeah.
They're very different. So I struggle with that question.
So Kia, tell us.
But it's Keaton.
If West is your number one, what's the sweet spot right now then?
The sweet spot, basically, because, well, you know, rest in peace, Adam West.
Mm-hmm.
I still, I realize that all of them bring different things to the table. Like, I feel the best complete Batman, the one who also makes a good Bruce Wayne, has always been Keaton. I always felt that Bale makes a terrible Bruce Wayne and a better Batman.
Yes.
Clooney makes a good Bruce Wayne and a terrible Batman.
Yep.
And so it's just, he's the best completist because he's the only one that makes both sides work.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, Kia, because what about Ben Affleck? Now, I actually think Ben Affleck is good at both. And it was really interesting very early on. And Ryan, I remember talking to you about this years ago, man. Very early on when we found out Ben Affleck was going to be Batman, people just were awful about it. He's going to be terrible. Yeah. And it was, I forget who it was, but it was a famous Hollywood critic came out and he was like, wait a second, let's give him a chance because I think he's going to be an excellent Bruce Wayne. And that is the trickiest. Anybody can do this. I'm Batman. Right. And work with the stunt coordinators. But to actually pull off the pain and anguish of Bruce Wayne is not easy to do. And I feel personally that Ben Affleck has done a very good job at that. What do you think, Kia?
Having seen the Snyder Cut, it redeems him so much more.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
So much.
Because I had the same feeling I was like, Batman is Batman is Batman. There's so many people who do a terrible job of Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale included. And I sat there and I said, he might not be so terrible as Batman, but that depends. I said, especially when they said they were going for a weathered, tired Batman, I was like, oh, he might actually be able to pull that off. I feel like he can pull off that whole, I've been doing this a long time. I'm really not in the mood for your shenanigans. This is what we're doing here today. And and it wasn't as glorified and as shown in Suicide Squad or in the one that we don't want to talk about, Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was terrible.
Like, it was just, I've had that conversation with a lot of people about Justice League. I was like, there's trailers we saw, which was one movie.
Right.
There's the movie we
yeah.
got, which was a different movie. And then there's the Snyder Cut, which is a third movie.
You know, Kia, that's really interesting. And there are a lot of things that I like about this version of Batman. And by the way, Jeremy Irons' Alfred is the best Alfred ever, in my opinion, because he's gritty and tough, and I really like him. I like the older Alfred too. All right, we'll fight later. But what I wanted to say was, you know, if you look at Batman versus Superman, which was also not the greatest film, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I look at that movie and I look at what the director was doing in the Snyder Cut, we talked about this last week, right? Zach is trying to help us see that processing grief and finding victory against evil cannot be rushed, and it takes time, and it's really difficult, and it tears people apart. And he showed us that. In Batman versus Superman, what I saw, or was it Superman versus Batman? I don't even know. I only saw it once or twice. The thing that I took away from that film was that the director was blurring the lines between the real world and the dream world. And he messed with us in a way where, like, sometimes you couldn't tell what was actually happening, what wasn't. So I actually walked away from that film going, like, it made me think a little bit. But Snyder Cut is like on a totally different level. We all, you know, I watched it with my wife and kids. We all thought it was just way beyond the other movie. Totally redemption, the way you put it, Kia. I agree. I totally agree.
And you have to admit that the Amazons got dead dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just, the first 25 minutes, I'm like, how could they do Themyscira like that? That is rude. And I've watched it 3 times, twice with people, once alone. And yes, it has been, everybody has felt the same way once they started getting to, it's like, wait a minute, did they completely change what we know about Themyscira? I said, yes, they did.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I wonder I feel like the same thing was supposed to happen to Atlantis, and it was a shorter version. You know what I mean? They only had to fight like 4 people, which it made me quit. That was the only qualm I had with Atlantis, is that they only had like 4 people ready to fight.
So let's talk about the animated series for a minute, because I am an Art Deco fanatic. I love Art Deco architecture, art. I've got a big Art Deco poster back here in my office. I mean, I absolutely love it. And to me, Batman the Animated Series is one of the coolest Batmobiles, because it was so seriously hardcore Art Deco, and the way in which they drew Gotham. And of course, that was really, if I'm correct, I think that's where we really got our first exposure to Harley Quinn, which I love her character. Suicide Squad, the Harley Quinn's movie, all of our Birds of Prey, fantastic movie. And I felt like the animated series visually was so stunning and compelling, and actually had great writing and great characters, that it really rises to the top for me. It was just an incredible series.
I think that's one of the reasons why most people, even if they think the Tim Burton Batmans are cheesy, the sets, while they're not Art Deco,
Scale.
they are the most elaborate sets, and which is why when you watch those movies, you feel that experience that a lot of us got from watching the animated series, and the style and the immersion. And most other Batman movies past that don't have that same feel. It's not just, everybody says it's just, oh, DC's too dark, DC's too dark. No, that was the way that they designed Gotham. Like, people make jokes all the time. Would you rather live in Metropolis or live in Gotham? And people's like, I would never live in Gotham. Gotham's terrible. Gotham's supposed to feel that way, though. And they make it look the way that you don't expect Gotham to be happy.
No, not at all. No.
And very few people, when they do, just throughout all these other movies, they keep forgetting that Gotham should look a certain way.
Yep. The Gotham, Tim Burton's vision of Gotham was extraordinary. It was so, the scale of it was crazy. just crazy.
I have an
Ryan, what do you think?
artifact. I have an artifact I have to show you here. Hang on.
Of course you do. While he gets his artifact, Kia, one thing that I'm still very curious about that they've never shown us in any of these movies is what happened to Batman's parents. We still really don't know.
So this was on my wall when I was in high school. It was.
Oh wait a minute! I feel like I've had that.
Yes, it has the Batmobile. It has the nice 1989 block
letter. By the way,
1989
Chevy Impala chassis. By the way,
but it has like all of the thing that I loved was that it had like these fake specs, like brake rating.
Please tell us.
The brake rating is excellent. The top speed.
Oh my God.
The top speed is unknown. The fuel requirement. But I had that with like probably
That's
like
great.
a Tomcat from Top Gun or something.
Tawny Katane on the hood of the car.
So here's my 1989 question for both of you that I want to debate a little bit for a minute or two is I was initially let down with the film. Talking about how all the Batmans are unique and all of them are like different, visions of what he could be or should be. I appreciated it after time, and I did get swept up in all the hype of the, with Prince and everything that was going on at that time. But I honestly, the one part of me that was disappointed is that I wanted, from reading the books, I wanted to have like a movie that was like a serious year one story. You know what I mean? And we're only getting those stories now, like decades later in the animated films that DC's putting out like fairly frequently. And I really appreciate those animated movies now. I just wish that there was more of that in the live action. And I don't know what your take is. I wanted to hear.
Great question.
I guess because it wasn't my introduction to Batman is why I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. People who don't get Batman year one, stuff like that. People who weren't familiar with it. But it also goes to show you that movie was not he was already Batman.
Right.
And they just did the short thing, the part that about him, his parents. But he's already Batman. He's been Batman for a while. This is just how it is. And people were okay with that and went full on into this was acceptable and it was a blockbuster film. So clearly they didn't need that as much either. But what we've learned, especially because Warner Animated Productions is completely separate from the films division. They're run by different people, and they unfortunately don't talk to each other. And this is why a lot of the stories that we need, want, and see come out of the animated division. I've had long conversations with my friends about the fact, since they've cast The Flash, how badly they may do Flashpoint. Because when they did Suicide Squad, instead of taking the animated version and making it a live action, they did something a little off. And we were just like, instead of them taking Flashpoint, which works as an animated story, they might do something different.
Kia, let me just interrupt for 2 seconds because I want to make sure I know what you're talking about. So if you'll excuse me, is Flashpoint the one where Keaton's coming back?
So I believe so, because no, I'm wrong. They're bringing back Keaton.
It's like a multiverse thing or something.
It is a multiverse thing, but I don't think that's where they're doing it at.
I think that's Crisis. Is it Crisis?
Well, Crisis.
I have no idea.
Crisis on Multiple Earths might be the one that they're doing. I don't know if they're actually going to do him in the Flashpoint movie. So,
I think it's in the TV series, maybe, and it might be Keaton. It might be Keaton.
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie. It's not because
no. I don't mean Flashpoint, but I think the Keaton and maybe even Affleck might be alternative Batmans that are coming into that.
So when they did Crisis in the Arrowverse, they brought Conroy in. Conroy ended up being the Batman in the Batwoman series in her version of her Earth. They are supposed to. So there's been the original talk was that they were bringing on Keaton, and Keaton was going to be Batman older, and the whole idea like the Batman when Terry comes in.
Right.
and that instead of Robert Pattinson being Bruce Wayne, he was going to be Terry. I believe they scratched that. I try not to think about it because it just makes me a little mad. So I try not to think about it.
So I just quickly looked it up, and an article that came out on the 5th of January of this year says DC has confirmed Michael Keaton will once again don the cowl as Batman alongside Ben Affleck in the 2022 film The Flash.
Right. So they are going to do Flashpoint because
There we go.
in Flashpoint in the multiverse, he's going to be a Batman on one planet, on one Earth, and on a different Earth, and that's how they're going to make it work. I know it can work because animated series makes it work.
Yeah.
Animated film department makes this work all the time. I'm worried that they won't make it work as a film.
Right. Kia, what about Robert Pattinson? What about the Batman? I mean, some of the footage we've seen there, you want to talk about an amazing looking Batmobile.
I was very surprised. When he got cast, people were like, this is weird. I said, here's the thing. And I remember saying it's about him. Could he pull off Bruce Wayne? Maybe. I said, but I don't know if he's playing Bruce Wayne or not. And somebody else said, why? I said, I literally originally thought when they told me that they were casting him that he might be playing Terry. That was my first thought before anybody said anything. When they said, we've cast Robert Pattinson in the Batman, I said, so is he Terry? And they were like, I don't think so. I said, are you sure? Because if he is, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It's a great casting choice if he's Terry.
Right.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Well, I would like that kind of twist. That would be interesting.
I would love to see that kind of twist.
I'm wondering also, are either one of you, Kia, are you reading anything current? Because I just started back reading the series, and then I realized they've kicked off this future slate.
Last thing was this.
Which is yet another kind of almost like series reboot. DC keeps doing this over and over again. But this one is interesting because it's not Bruce Wayne. It's kind of in the near future, and it's a stripped down Batman who has to like hide from all the technology. You know, it's got the vibe of the video games where, you know, there's like the overbearing state.
Yeah, I decided to reread Injustice because I hadn't read it in a couple of years, and I decided to start all over again. And I'm realizing I forgot some pieces. So that's where I am right now, is because the last thing I had read before that was the whole series where Batman and Catwoman get married. And then I had kind of stopped reading for a little bit. But right now I've decided to restart reading Injustice.
Right. Well, I read Injustice. I think that was, I really like the miniseries. I really got out of reading just the regular run of anything like detective. So I enjoy seeing kind of the alternate storylines and all these different multiverse takes. So really enjoy that. So are you a gamer as well?
I do not play Batman games other than Batman Lego. I do play games. I just don't play those types of games. I've taken a very long hiatus to allow my child to become a gamer because I guess I beat her a couple of too many times.
Builds character.
I'm fully in the whole, you were going to lose, but I'll keep it close. And so I took a little gaming hiatus.
Isn't that our job? That's our job, to keep them on the
totally our job. It's totally our job.
Every win she got, she earned.
Well, that's good. That does build character.
You know, when it comes, they can throw as much Batman stuff as they want, as long as they're not repeating and just telling the same story. That's why I made the joke about Batman's parents, right? Which is like, okay, we know what happens. You don't need to keep showing us that. So they're, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm hard pressed to think of a Batman I don't like, or something where I'm really, I mean, okay, fine. Like I said, those Batman Returns films, some of those got a little wonky, but they were fun. They were still fun to watch. And even Batman versus Superman, or whatever it was, Superman versus Batman, even
when you like the merchandise and the Batmobile more than the film, you start to have a problem, though. But that's because I've got the they did the Batmobile documentary, and they put out like the big coffee table book. that
I think I
explores
might have that somewhere.
all of the movie Batmobiles. I have that book on my shelf back here, and
Top Speed,
I
Unknown.
love those, and I love the documentary about how they built the Tumbler, and it's like a real car for the first time. In fact,
And if I think I am correct if I remember, Ryan, that the Batmobile of the poster you from '89 that you had on your wall because you were such a total dork is it really is built on I believe it's a 1988 or '89 Chevy Impala station wagon chassis, and that's what they used. It's got like they put some crazy engine in it,
I think
which is
it's
funny
like a Corvette engine. Yeah,
it's a Corvette engine, and at the time, that's the vehicle my family had, so we called it the Batmobile.
Nice. Well, I am in the Batcave now. My home office has always been the Batcave. My Wi-Fi is the Batcave. My SSID. So I've everything is like that here.
Password Batman exclamation point.
Right. I have to try harder to get into the Bat computer. Okay.
Batmobile, but the O is a 0.
So I'm gonna give it to you, Kia, for what should be our last Batman topic of the day. What do you want to close out with?
That.
Favorite Robin.
Okay, got it. So why don't we go in reverse order then? Graeme, you go first.
Favorite Robin. Boy, I mean, I would go with Burt Ward. Is that right? From the one that was with Adam West, Burt Ward?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I would go with him because I felt that his ability to have such a high energy, nobody competes with Adam West. Adam is, when he's on camera, not only is he incredibly good looking and very charming, but his dry humor, he is remarkably comedic. And he's just got this huge presence. Burt Ward brought it, but he didn't try to compete with him. He did something that was complementary. And as an actor, having been an actor, that's really hard to do. And I give Burt Ward a lot of credit for that. His, the way he was always very campy and funny, but really was treating it like he was almost too serious about it was perfect. So I would have to go with Burt Ward as my favorite because I just think he was the perfect complement. In fact, I don't think anybody could have been such a good complement to Adam West.
Okay. I'm going to go the polar opposite direction. I'm going to say I like Carrie from The Dark Knight. So I have like the action figure over my side of my shoulder here, but so that's how Ben Affleck won me over. It started to feel like they were going in that direction. You'd been through several Jasons, like Jason Todd and all these other Robins that he had.
I don't know who you're talking about.
So in The Dark Knight, it's way in the future, right? He's already retired.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a girl who
the book.
Taking in the book.
Yes. Okay, I know exactly who you mean. I know exactly who you're talking about.
But I was just fascinated with the fact that it was like the next generation. And to me it was a girl. It was like this tiny,
There's a great scene where he's swinging and she's
against all
jumping
odds.
next to him.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
And so I like the fact that it's like reaching a completely new direction with Robin, because I feel like we had Dick Grayson turn into Nightwing, and we had all these things that evolved in the books over the year. And that was just like a complete fresh take for me. I will tell you this before we go to Yukia. I do not like Damian. Like that is my worst. I don't understand why they've tried to keep pushing that and pushing that and pushing that. So I'm not about that.
Nobody likes Damian. Let's be honest. You'll find more people who like Jason Todd than people who like Damian.
I know, which is saying something.
My favorite has always been the original Robin, because I feel like we've seen his evolution more. Mm-hmm. He's also the only person that can keep Damian in check. And so it's one of those, I've always particularly cared for the fact that he learned under Batman. He grew into Nightwing. When Batman went missing, he became Batman. Yeah. He's the responsible eldest child who comes into their own, but when they have to do the family duty, they come back and they do it. And I think that's why I've always liked him the most.
Can I argue with that?
I have one parting lightning round question before we wrap it up, which is, if you personally could portray any character from the Batman universe, who would you want to portray?
Oh,
Kia?
wow.
Everybody take a minute to think about that. Na 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 Batman. Na 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 na.
I don't have to think about it.
Okay. Are you going to say Batman? The answer cannot be Batman.
Oh, it can't be Batman.
No, it can be. It can be.
I mean,
but you have to be specific about which one.
Well, here's my thing. It was for me, it was always either I was going to be Batman or Wolverine, and I decided Batman was more attainable.
You have the face for Batman, but you've got the body for Wolverine.
Well, we'll see.
That's very true.
Or maybe it's the other way around.
I don't know.
I think that's fair. I'm sorry. You know I love you, buddy. I'm being rough on you in this show, but I do love you very much. Sorry. It's just one of those weeks. Kia, who would you be?
If I could sorry. I'm sorry. This is just hilarious. If I could choose someone in the entire universe and not choose Batman, let's just assume I was not allowed to choose Batman, I would choose.
It's a big multiverse.
I know. That's why it's kind of weird. I think I would choose, only because it's one of those things that always makes me laugh, is Condiment King.
Nice.
Wow. That is wow.
Nice.
That's impressive.
That's going deep into the gallery there.
It's one of those, not really serious, but when they show up, you're just like, seriously?
Yes. Hey, that shows commitment on the part of any character to get into that. I like it. All right. So if I can't pick Batman, it's got to be Wolverine. Sorry.
Wrong universe.
I know, wrong universe,
bro. You're gonna. Right. I'm sorry. We're gonna require you to think about this for a second, and you've got to provide us with a legit answer.
Oh, it's got to be a legit answer.
It can't be Batman, but I want to know which Batman you're talking about. Like, what are you picturing?
Okay. When I picture Batman, I'm always picturing the Batman from year one. I mean, that's just the classic story for me. So like 2 years into the job, still trying to figure things out.
Yep.
That's just, for me, I'm tired of with the films, I don't want to see the origin story again. So I like the fact that they're taking things with the new films in that direction.
Can I give an answer?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. My answer is I would like to be Commissioner Gordon because that's my dad's name.
Nice.
And I just like gritty cop stories. I mean, we watch a disgusting amount of Law and Order, and we just finished watching, which I know.
You watched Stabler last night? The Return of
No, we're
Stabler?
watching that tonight because you know what we finished last night was season 6 of Bosch. If you haven't seen Bosch, my God, do yourself a favor and start watching that show. It is phenomenal. So, and I love like LA Confidential. I'm just about to start reading the Quartet. I mean, so to me, Commissioner Gordon, plus I like the characters that have played him, J.K. Simmons, Gary Oldman, and others. So I like that character. So it's not just because Gordon's my dad's name, but I like gritty cop characters in books and TV and film. So that to me, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. That's it.
That's the show, folks.
Yeah. Kia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It was
I feel
nice
like
to talk to you all.
We could keep on talking about Batman for another 2 hours, I think. But
we absolutely could. But your show is only but so long.
I know, right?
I'm going to go watch Godzilla versus Kong.
Nice.
You're gonna love it.
Like a good person, because I haven't had the energy to want to watch it all week. I've had way more meetings than a little bit, so I've just been. Not today. Today is my day.
You're going to love it. It's so fantastic. And they did not reveal any of the spoilers in the trailer. It's everything you want it to be.
I purposely didn't watch the trailers just because I was just like, just in case.
So I did. And what I would arguably consider the big surprise of the film, they never hinted at it. And it's, oh my God, fantastic. You're going to love it.
So the funniest meme, this is what we'll close out on. The funniest meme I saw, which I don't have prepared for the screen, but is Godzilla leans into Kong and says, "Save Martha." And he's like, "Why did you say that?"
All right, so Ryan, let's do the Batman run like we're on the green screen as the show closes.
Nice. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Been
Thanks for joining.
Ryan Boyles. It's been Graeme Noseworthy.
Pow.
It's been Kia Slade.
Ka-chow.
We've been talking Batman. Thank you so much for joining Weeks In. Use the hashtag on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching us. We'll be back next Friday for another action-packed, swashbuckling episode. And we'll talk to you later.
Kablooey. Oh, my goodness.
I'm having trouble hitting the in broadcast button